bringing her husband's body back to his family for burial was enough to fulfill his final wish, but Alia never imagined that her husband had left behind a secret will, asking his brother Jihan to marry Alia after his death, a wish that aligned perfectly with his mother's hopes. But for Jihan it was painful and hard to accept. He had sworn never to remarry after losing his first wife, but now his brother's last request asked him to break that vow. The next day Alia met her uncle Oscar near the police station without knowing any of this. Oscar had found her a lawyer to sue her in-laws, but the people watching Alia quickly reported the meeting to Jihan. The lawyer not only wanted to help Alia regain custody of her son, he also suggested that she and her son claim her late husband's share of the Aper family estate, but Alia had no interest in anything except getting her son back. While she was explaining the situation to Oscar and the lawyer Bahati, she turned and saw Jihan storming toward her with intensity. He picked up her bag and tried to take her away immediately. Alia told him to let her go, but Jihan completely ignored her request. Alia struggled to break free from his grasp, and nearly got hit by a passing car as she stumbled back. Luckily Jihan caught her in time and pulled her to safety, but the commotion drew the attention of nearby police officers. Alia told Jihan to leave quickly and said she would handle the situation. Then the officers came over and asked if she was in trouble. Alia explained that she had tripped and fallen, and a passerby helped her. But the police wanted to check her identification, and discovered she was listed in an active complaint, so they said she needed to come with them to the station. Alia asked who had filed the complaint. They told her it was her mother-in-law Sadiq Aper. Alia looked back at Jihan. She couldn't believe his family would really press charges over an accident. Alia had no words left. She could only swallow the pain and stay silent. But what shocked her even more was that the lawyer Bahati recommended by Oscar was secretly working for their enemy Demir. He told Demir that Alia had once fired a shot and wounded Jihan, which made Demir take a sudden interest in her. He hadn't expected this seemingly gentle woman to be so bold. Soon after Jihan came to the station as the reported victim, and by chance caught a glimpse of the security footage showing Alia being held in custody. Even though it hurt him deeply to go along with it, he still claimed under oath that Alia had intentionally tried to shoot him that night. When Bahati met Alia as her lawyer, he delivered the terrible news to her. Alia was stunned and couldn't believe it. Then Jihan came in for a private visit. Alia mocked herself for covering for him in front of the police just earlier. She never thought he was no different from his mother. How could he say she tried to hurt him on purpose? It was clearly just an accident. Jihan told her the prosecutor would submit the statement tomorrow, so she still had time. Alia asked what kind of time. Jihan said the chance to change the statement. If she agreed to one condition, then he would admit it was just an accident. Alia assumed he was using this chance to force her to return to Canada, and called him out as a shameless opportunist. But Jihan said he didn't want her to leave anymore. This man proposes to his sister-in-law while in prison. As long as Alia agrees to marry him, Jihan will get her out of here. Alia has never heard anything so ridiculous. She questions how Jihan can be such a despicable man. How is he supposed to face his dead older brother? Little does she know, this is her late husband's dying wish. Jihan claims he thought it through carefully before making this decision. Alia couldn't care less about his reasoning. She warns Jihan that even if she spends her whole life in prison, she will never agree to marry him. At that moment, a police officer enters to announce the end of the meeting. Jihan has no choice but to calm the officer down, and tells Alia that he did this to protect her, and asks for her understanding. He leaves in frustration. Clearly, he's also trying to control his emotions. Alia, on the other hand, is left in a daze. She doesn't know what to do next. The lawyer asks her what Jihan said to her. Luckily, Alia is cautious about Baha's involvement. She doesn't reveal what was said during the conversation with Jihan. What she didn't expect, however, is that Demir comes to see her that evening. Alia demands to know why he's here, and warns him to leave. Demir reassures her not to be afraid, that he won't harm her. Alia insists that he leave. Demir says he came to apologize. He wants to sway Alia, and says the one who caused her to end up in this situation is Jihan. They could join forces and fight against Jihan together. But Alia of course wouldn't trust him that easily. Demir insists that Jihan isn't a good person, and advises her to recognize who her real enemy is. Then, he hypocritically tells her that if she needs anything, she can tell the police, and he'll find a way to help. Meanwhile, Dennis, who hasn't seen his mother in a while, has a nightmare. When he wakes up, he starts crying uncontrollably. Hearing the noise, Jihan hurries over to comfort him. He sits beside him to help him fall asleep again, but he knows this can't go on forever. The next morning, Dennis insists on going to find his mother. Jihan agrees to bring her back today. Kaya also supports his older brother's idea that he should withdraw the lawsuit and bring his sister-in-law home. But the mother-in-law is firm in her stance that as long as Alia refuses to marry Jihan, she will stay in prison. This puts Jihan in a difficult position. But thinking of his older brother's last wish, Jihan ultimately makes the hard decision to not change his testimony. And this decision completely disappoints Alia.